I studied in technology through project management and worked on various different technology projects over in the UK and then over in Australia, and then was fortunate enough to work for them not long after I returned in Australia for a UK company, Specsavers. So I got to do lots of travel back to the UK, which was great. But yeah, I started in project management, and that's kind of where I found my feet and where I got a lot of my exposure in a variety of different projects. And then I sort of climbed my way up the corporate ladder from there, being more responsible for multiple projects and teams that work on projects, and sort of have ended up where I am from that journey.
I like the idea that there's so much traveling involved, like that overseas connection. I was like, damn, why didn't I get into this?
Yeah, and not everybody gets to do. I mean, there's a lot of project managers that might do it for decades and they don't travel. I think Philippa and I have been fortunate enough to work in organizations that have been able to provide that opportunity. So we've been very fortunate in that way, I think. Yeah.
And Philippa, you started in Specsavers, right?
Yeah, so I had a little bit of a different career path. So I finished uni on the Sunshine Coast. So I'm actually from Queensland. Most people wonder why I moved to Melbourne, but I really love the cold weather. So that's the main reason. So yeah, I started at Specsavers as a graduate business analyst, and my career kind of took off from there. So that's where I met Jade, and she got me into project management and delivery. So yeah, I've been in IT delivery for probably the last 10 years now. And now I'm, I guess, sort of along the way, I've taken on sort of more responsibility and taken opportunities as they've come to me. So yeah, now I'm running a PMO. So that's been a fun journey.
Yeah, no, I think, that's I think the most interesting thing about, I guess I myself didn't know too much about like STEM careers and whatnot before I actually joined this company myself. So I like how there's so much more in terms of career paths like that you can take in just from under this one sort of like umbrella term that they use for it. And I think that was really cool. And I guess if we want to go to talking about the actual conference, do you think that the way it was, I guess, delivered would be the right way, was like quite effective and good in terms of encouraging the younger girls?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that was a good I've got back. Did you hear that? There's an echo.
Yeah, there was a little echo, but that's all right.
I don't know where that came from. What was that? Yeah, I think that's a good segue in terms of the various different paths that you can take. And what Philippa and I really wanted to focus on when we ran the sessions at Go Girl was more around what are all of the things that you actually need to know, or skills that you could be working on that actually have nothing to do with the technical job that you're interested in. Yeah. And the reason why we focused on that was because there are so many different ways you can get involved in a STEM career. And I mean, we're just coming from a technology angle, because obviously the science and maths, there's lots of different technical roles that females can take up, and there's so many different career paths. So we know people who started in testing, or they started in business analysis like Philippa. Myself started in project management. There's so many different ways, or engineering. Some people start off as architects, doing solution architecture and working to enterprise architecture. And from there, they might go on to strategy and planning and, CIO. There's just so many different ways that you can get to where you want to be. And so that's why we really focused on the soft skills part of it. And it was really enjoyable, wasn't it, Philippa?
Yeah, I was about to say, I reckon my favorite part was trying to corral a bunch of 10-year-olds into creating a project plan for making breakfast, and just going hell for leather with no instructions. So it really tested my skills. Really tested my my delivery capability of getting a bunch of people together that I didn't know. And I obviously don't have kids. So yeah, it was definitely a test of skills, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. And it was just really nice to sort of give back, because I guess for me at least, I've had some really good mentors over the years, and managers, and I think that's really important, to surround yourself with a good network of people. So yeah, it's nice to be able to give back through a program like this.
And okay, well, I guess you basically answered the second question, which is what do you get most out of the program as a speaker? So I think you answered that question very well. Jade, did you want to add anything else to that?
Do you know, the whole thing was really enjoyable for everything reasons Philippa just said. And I think when you first join and you know, I wasn't sure how it would go being virtual. And when you first join the Zoom, there's just these fresh, bright, eager faces just all staring at you and just so keen to learn. And it gave me a huge amount of energy, to be honest. And it was a really humbling experience because we kind of went in there thinking, what on earth would they want to hear about from us?
Yeah.
What could we possibly, you know, we're just like these, you know, old biddies kind of thing, you know, and they're these young schoolgirls. And so it was actually, I think when we went in there, we sort of our theme and our motto between myself and Philippa was, if we can just have one girl walk away feeling really inspired and wanting to go and even investigate it a little bit more, we felt that we would have done a really good job and we'd be proud of the sort of effort we put in. So I feel like we did that. There was definitely one girl in particular, we won't name her name, who was keen as mustard and asking lots of questions. So when we hung up, we were like, yes, we really feel like we made a difference for at least one girl that day. So that was probably the best part for me.
No, I think that's really cool, especially like, I mean, obviously we won't know where these girls' parts will go, but I mean, because there was so many girls as well, like I'm sure one of them would definitely had walked away from it thinking like, oh my goodness, like that could be really cool. And especially at that age when you start learning that like, oh, am I good at this or am I good at this? Like, you know, and being able to find something or be like exposed to something from people that are actually in the field is so much more interesting as well, instead of just having your teacher be like, oh, this is what you would do, you know. So I think that's really cool.
I think as well, you know, there's sort of maybe a view that a career in technology would be that you're a coder. And there's probably a little bit of an assumption that gets made. And I think that a lot of the people that were on our sessions didn't know that project management is a job. And hey, if you're really organized and you can work well with others, that's an actual job that you can get paid for, and you get to work with cool technology as well. So I think that was a bit of an eye-opener for them to know that you don't have to be a coder. And Philippa was really honest, saying that wasn't her jam.
No, it definitely was not my jam.
It's funny because I went over the conference where you guys were talking before I came to see you guys, and I remember thinking like, oh, because my sister's in year 7, and I was like, she'd actually be really good at that, because like my sister's probably the most organized person I've ever met, and like she's never been to school late, and I am someone that was. And so I was like, wow. But I guess from all of that and helping these girls wanting to pursue a career in STEM, what type of advice would you give the young girls out there who want to pursue a career in tech?
I think for me, at least, I would say take the opportunities as they come, even if you don't really know what you're doing, because pretty much every job I've ever had, that's how I felt at the start. And you kind of just figure your way out as you go. And I guess, it's you've got to make sure you've got the right network around you and the right support as well to help you succeed, you know, with whatever you take on. But also you never know sort of who you're going to meet or what it's going to lead to. So IT is or STEM probably is a very small world. So you never know when you're going to meet someone you've worked with in previous organisations like Jade and I.
Yes, we have worked together again since Specsavers. She's come and worked for me in a different company. So yeah, and I'm sure we'll probably work together again. So, but yes, and I agree with Philippa, and I think completely agree with Philippa actually.
I guess like even that like in I guess in an industry where, like you said, it's quite small and therefore you can bump into people you know, and that working with them again would be such a cool, I guess, environment, because you'd be able to bounce off people that you've worked with. I'm assuming that the both of you would bounce off each other very well, and that's why you've worked together so many times. And I think when you find someone like that, especially in something like a job, it's like probably very special, like, you know.
Yeah, and that was some of the advice that we actually gave on the day, was around, especially I think, you know, within technology, it sometimes does attract the introverts. particularly in the technical roles. And one of the things that we covered on the day was around, you know, if at the moment you kind of really like being by yourself and, you know, you're at school and you don't really want to have to put yourself out there or join groups, particularly not lead any groups, now's the time to start practicing while you're in school, because you don't realize it until you're actually out in the workforce how important things like teamwork are, how important it is to extend yourself outside your comfort zone. So if you don't like public speaking, for example, start doing it while you're at school, so that when you do get into the workforce, it's something that just feels comfortable and you're used to it. But certainly I think what we uncovered as we were sort of talking with the girls was around, you know, working well with other people and being someone that people want to work with is really important, particularly in the early days of your career, to make sure that you are getting all the opportunities. And then, as Philippa said, it's a small world. So, you know, as you're sort of going through in your early career and you're working well with others, you're going to get a lot more opportunities because you're well known to people to be well to work with.
No, that's really cool. And I mean, I think that's something that anyone who's, even myself, who's sort of starting my own career, like I've noticed that, you know, the more people I know, the more like opportunity there has been. And, you know, it's so hard when you are introverted, because like I would probably consider myself an introverted person. But like once you get out there and you're like, oh no, I like this, like it encourages you more in itself. So that's really
cool. Absolutely. And, you know, I think my final advice for, you know, anyone who is thinking about, you know, joining STEM is also around like just challenge yourself to be uncomfortable, but also know what the things are that give you energy and go do that. I think what I did early in my career is I did the things that I thought I was supposed to do because it looked good on paper. And I focused a lot on resumes and how it looked, as opposed to what are the roles and the activities and the types of people, the types of companies where I feel energized. And I think if you can find that early on, that's a real ticket to that's the thing that you should keep doing.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. Okay. Well, in terms of, I guess, starting your own careers in STEM, did you encounter any barriers when pursuing these careers? And do you think programs like GoGo help avoid this?
Yeah, well, at least for me, you know, I sort of went down a traditional route, I guess, and I, you know, finished high school and then went to university, and I kind of was coming to the end of that. And, you know, when you're looking at applying for jobs, it's like they want you to have all this experience. And it's like, well, I've done all this study, but I have no experience. So I was lucky enough that I got an opportunity to do an internship to try and help kickstart some of that experience. And that also was with Specsavers, where I landed sort of my first job. But yeah, I think programs like this are, you know, especially early on, definitely really beneficial for the girls to see. And, you know, what are the different pathways they can take, or there might even be opportunities like yourself, Aisha, what you've done.
Yeah.
So
no, I think that's really cool. And yeah, like you and I were talking about earlier, Philippa, the idea of mentorship is so important, because like it's so overwhelming, like coming into the world of work and you're just like, okay, like what do I do? Like, and having someone there to be like, okay, so this is how you do it, is just life changing. Okay, do you think there are any aspects of STEM careers that the Go Girl program could actually emphasize to appeal to younger girls?
I think the program's pretty great, and certainly I don't even know if those sorts of programs are available to me. Back when I started, as I said, I was in the UK and I was under the wing of, I was fortunate enough to also have a female mentor who sort of took me under my wing, and even though I had absolutely no experience in project management, she just sort of said, go over there, talk to those people and work it out. And that's how my career began. But she was a Texan and she worked for Deloitte. So I learned a lot from her, and I was really, really fortunate. So I don't know if those programs are available, but certainly from the experience that we had on the day, I can't see how it couldn't be completely advantageous to young girls wanting to know more, to be able to have the opportunity for girls who have an interest now while they're at school to come and meet people like me and Philippa, and people, all sorts of different people from all walks of life doing all sorts of different roles in tech. I think it's fantastic and a great program.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, well, at least, you know, it's good to know that like the program is doing as much as it can to help these girls, and like anywhere there's place for improvement, you know, feedback is always welcome. So
I mean, we weren't fortunate enough to be part of the whole day because of course it was virtual. So hopefully we'll get a chance to be able to do it again in person one day. Who knows with the way the world's going. But, you know, I'm not completely across the full program, but I'm not sure, you know, whether or not there was science and maths as well, or if it was more focused on tech. But certainly I think, you know, science and maths are equally as underrepresented in the industry as what tech is. I think tech is improving, and you know, I think across all of those industries, it would be great to see more girls and more females in the workplace.
Well, I mean, I guess that moves on to like, do you think females bring anything different to IT projects compared to males? Like, are they more creative or more strategic? Like,
yeah, Philip and I were actually talking about this one, because I think where we really landed, and I'll let Philippa talk as well, was to me, it's sort of, if you're ultimately a goal setting, you can set goals and you know how to achieve those goals, you know how to set them, plan them, track them, and adapt when you need to. And you can work well with other people. And of course, there's a good old organizational skills element as well. Yeah. It really shouldn't matter whether or not you're male or female. And certainly in our experience, I don't know that we noticed a significant difference between the two. I think it depends on the individual. How badly they want to do well is typically how they'll show up. And if you really, really want to do well, and you've got a growth mindset, then really it shouldn't matter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything Jade's just said. Like, I've had, you know, both females and males in my teams, and I generally try and focus more on a skill set, as opposed to, you know, what does one gender do better than the other. But yeah, I think as Jade said, if they come in with a growth mindset, then, you know, they're going to show up like that.
Yeah, of course. All right. And what has been one of your, well, either Philippa and Jade both, one of your favorite projects to work on?
Well, this one's an easy answer for me. This was actually right at the beginning, in the very, very early days of my career. The best thing I ever did. I was getting paid barely any money, working long hours. I mean, on paper, it was a really crappy job, but actually it was one of the best jobs. And I was actually working at a non-for-profit in Victoria, and we were doing the implementation of digital mammography all across Victoria. So, you know, you were implementing technology that within a matter of weeks, you were getting data back to show early detection of breast cancer, which otherwise wouldn't have been picked up previously before that digital technology. So, I mean, something like it's so rewarding knowing that you're part of technology rollouts that actually significantly improve the lives and health outcomes of individuals and their families. So, yeah, for me, it's funny, worst pay, long hours, but the best.
Really selling it, Jade.
I'm really selling it. But it was you know, if you can get involved, if what matters to you is the things that, you know, what I said earlier about, you know, the energy, where you get that energy. I love leaving things better than how I found them, and that's probably one of the things I love about project management. And for me, something like that, where you can walk away and go, we've just saved lives. And people have now got early detection that they would have not known that they had breast cancer, and it would have been too late. So the results of that were just so good. And so, yeah, to be part of something like that, it's super rewarding. And I'll always say that's probably my best project. Okay. Until another one comes along that's equally as rewarding.
No, that's very cool. No, that's like, yeah, I guess the best project isn't just the one that you make the most money out of. Like, there's always that sense of, you know, heart in it, and that's so important as well. So yeah. And what about Philippa?
I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, you know, I think all the projects I've worked on, I don't know if I have a favorite one. I think it's been about the people that I've worked with.
Yes.
And I think, you know, as long as you have a good team around you and a good team you're working with, like, projects aren't always fun, and they're not always smooth. Well, they're never smooth. There's always another problem to solve. So I think it's sort of what you make it with the people around you that makes it fun.
Yeah, and those are both great answers. I liked how, you know, one has to do with heart and one has to do with people. It's lovely. It's lovely. So when you're working with so many people around the world, because that's something that you guys have had the opportunity to do, what are some interesting skills or habits that you've maybe come across or even adopted? Because like you guys have said, you've worked with some people from so many different areas, and like work ethic in different countries is just so different as well. So yeah, what's something that you thought was like most interesting or you've taken from?
I think one skill that I've sort of had to adopt or, work on the most is probably listening to understand rather than listening to respond. So, actually hearing what someone has to say and understanding it and sort of, the impacts on them, rather than just hearing it and then saying what I think is better. So I think, that's definitely one of the key skills, because, everyone has a different experience or point of view to share. So I think it's just about focusing on getting the best outcome for what you're working on, and remembering that as well.
Yeah, and sometimes with the time delays, when you're on the phone, there's a slight delay. So your listening skills, if they're not solid, you have to learn very quickly. I was certainly in that boat. I had to learn, you've got to wait a few seconds and then they'll respond. So you're heightened in your listening ability. And certainly, what Philippa was saying as well is, when everybody is working very differently and there's cultures within different teams, you might be working with another country with different teams within that country, and even they are operating differently. So the listening to understand is critical, but also your organizational skills have to go to the next level as well. You can't, we get trapped, I think, at work where we send emails to each other and I wait for you until you've emailed me. And so, one of the things that you learn is just you've got to pick up the phone. So as soon as the time zone clicks in, you make yourself available and you pick up the phone, and relationships are paramount. You really cannot deliver projects with international teams without having really solid relationships. And the onus is really on the project manager to make that work. So yeah, definitely listening and being organized, but ultimately I think the relationship, it's critical, and as Philippa said, there's no projects where it really goes to plan. And, you can always, you hope for the best, plan for the worst, and the worst will always occur at some point in time. There's, no matter how many risks you foresee and how well you are at risk management, some things will turn into issues and things just happen. If you have a strong relationship with the people who are on the other side of the world, it makes all the world of difference, because people are willing to go above and beyond to make milestones and make things happen. So yeah, definitely. There's so much, actually, if you think about it, Philippa. I think it's probably been really good for both of us in our careers getting to work with different countries. You really do grow very quickly as an individual and in working well with others.
I guess just to add on to that, because of, I guess, the climate of the world at the moment with COVID, do you think those overseas opportunities have been a bit stunted in terms of work?
Well, I certainly have in Australia, because, we're locked.
We can't leave.
You can't get in and you can't get out.
I mean, I can't even leave my own state, so.
No.
Oh my you can't leave 10 kilometres, so
that's
you're not going to get far, are you?
Oh, man.
I think they've definitely been stunted, but I think all the years we had where we were working with international people, I think really sort of set us up for success for this climate, because we're constantly having to form new relationships over the web, over a video, which is very different than doing it in person.
So when you were working with people overseas, was it mostly done online like this, or did you have to go overseas a fair bit as well?
It was a combination, I would say, for some circumstances, maybe when upfront doing discovery or through the design phases of a project, you'd usually sort of get together on site. Whether that was in the UK or America or somewhere else, you'd fly there and spend a couple of weeks, do what you need to do, and then the rest would kind of be handled over VC, or phone calls.
All right. Well, that's good.
At
least
the technology wasn't as advanced as what it is
No.
now. Obviously we're aging, more so than Philippa. But it was all the technology has been, and the same when I was at other organisations that are international as well. You are actually in the office doing VCs in the office. You weren't able to kind of go home. You had the phone, you could talk over the phone, but there were no Zooms or anything like that. Certainly not, in large enterprise organizations, that would have been considered completely not the thing to do. But of course now it's really shifting because it has to, which is really interesting.
Yeah. No, and I think that's probably one of the most, in a way, interesting things that's happened within like this whole COVID pandemic is like how technologies had to evolve so quickly to help like connectivity. And I think that's really cool. And I think even though there was a lack of technology back when you guys were working with other teams like around the world, I guess for future generations, there's that easier way of coordinating with each other.
The funny thing about that is that the technology actually was there. It's been there for quite a long time.
Okay.
It's organizations' willingness to try something new. Security is a big deal, and people want to make sure that the technology that's being used is highly secure. And, it needs to be able to integrate with other systems in the workplace. So it can be very complicated and there's cost involved as well. So, the technology, interestingly, it's been there. I would say it's been underutilized by the people.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's cool. That's an interesting point of view. I added this question at the end just because I myself play a lot of games. So I wanted to know what type of games, Philippa, influenced you to actually pursue IT.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was a particular type of game. I was literally there in grade 12 going, oh my God, what am I going to write down to do for like my life job? And I was like, well, science isn't really for me. I was like, I like playing video games, so how about IT? And as I said to the girls on the day, I was like, just a little tidbit of advice, there's actually no game playing in an IT degree, except with the people that you're with, outside of it, but they don't actually, anyway, I'd say the games, and I still play them today, probably more like role-based ones or problem-solving games, so like Tomb Raider or Ratchet and Clank, if you've heard of those. I sound super nerdy right now, but it's usually about kind of trying to solve a whole bunch of puzzles and problems, usually working with a group of people or
like strategy games, sort of.
I'd say so.
Okay. No, that's cool. Yeah, I just had to ask because I was like, I wonder what it would have been.
It wasn't one particular one.
No. Well, I guess I wanted to say thank you for your time today, as well as your time for when you guys spoke at the conference. I'm 100% sure someone walked away from that thinking, this might be my way to go in terms of career, and I think it would be very rewarding for everyone involved. And and I'm happy that we could also provide a platform to you guys to also talk about your experiences and I guess reflect on how far you've also come within your career, and being able to share that is so important as well. So thank you
so much for having us. It's been great.
No, that's so good. I'm glad we actually finally got to do this.
I know.
But thank you. If there's anything else you wanted to add, I'm happy to listen. But I really appreciate it, and thank you for having me. This is my first. I only joined Vic IT like a month or so ago, so when I asked you to do this, I was like, oh, okay.
You did a really great job.
Oh, thank you. I try.
Little pride.
No, but you guys have a lovely Sunday, and hopefully we can get involved again.
That would be great. And if there's anything, if you sort of hang up and go, oh, actually, I wish I had asked them this, just let us know. We're happy to make ourselves available, aren't we, Willie? Philippa?
Yeah, we can do.
All right. No,
Philippa by a nickname. Sorry.
That's definitely a nickname between friends.
I'm the only one who calls her that, by the way. It's not really a nickname.
She is. I've had a lot of nicknames over the years, but that's definitely an original.
I used to pick on her all the time from being from Queensland, and then I couldn't pick her anymore because I just loved her too much. So now I call her Yuli.
Well, it's really funny because I was born in Melbourne, but I moved to Brisbane with my mum when I was like 5, and I only moved back to Melbourne this year, April. And then everything just started falling apart.
What a time to move to Melbourne.
Yeah, I know.
I
know. I was like, because I'm doing my master's at Melbourne Uni, and like I was like, career-wise, there's so much more here and everything. Everything was like, no, but maybe next year.
What are you doing your master's in?
Marketing comms.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, no, I really like it because I did my undergrad in film and screen media production. So like I am very like, I love making things is the best way to do it. And like I like get really caught up on like the finer details and stuff like that. And like I think marketing was just like a great place to do it because it's just such a growing industry, especially digital marketing. So yeah, and I was like, this is where I can apply this in like in a different way as well. So yeah.
Yeah, organizations are making significant investments in MarTech. So it's a smart place to be. Interestingly, just from what you said, I did something similar as well. So I did filmmaking. I wanted to be a documentary filmmaker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was more like on the producing side. So yeah, directing and producing. So I don't, do you know, it's funny because now I think about the link with project management. How did I end up there from where I started? And I think in a way, project management is like a production. It really is. It's, it's got a start, a middle, and an end. It's got the actors, you know, it's got the pitfalls and the wins, you know, and it's got a time frame it needs to be done by. There's so many things that are similar. And if I think about my experiences at school where, you know, we were making films, it's really very, very similar. You know, a storyboard isn't that different to getting in a room with people and working out what risks could come on a project. And who are our stakeholders, you know, it's the same thing. You can see it like you're running a film.